Hello, fellow gardeners. Eric Smith here, Chattanooga, Tennessee, backyard gardener. I am finishing up round 2 of pepper starts, and so today I was going to go through the rest of the hot peppers that I am starting indoors. I'm starting indoors in my basement with a seed mix. I am using some Fox Farm. It's a mix half and half of their cocoa core and their strawberry fields. I do prefer the Fox Farm blends. All of them have their are very nice blends. Some of them have more nutrients than others. The cocoa core is a little light on the nutrients, and the strawberry fields is very heavy on the nutrients. So I have mixed them half and half, run them through a sifter to sift out the larger chunks of bark and woody debris that's in them. That woody debris will just go to the garden. It'll break down into excellent garden soil. But I want to remove that so that my seedlings have the best chance to pop up. I pre-moistened my soil. I have loaded my tray. I'm running with it's 6 across, 12 deep, 72 tray here. I've got several different types of hot peppers I'm starting. I'll be placing these on a heat mat and starting them in my basement. The heat mat just helps raise the soil temperature about 10 degrees warmer than my basement. So my basement's probably running 60 to 65 degrees. If I can get these seedlings closer to 75 degrees, they do enjoy the heat. The heat helps them germinate. Getting seeds close to their ideal starting temperature can really save you on the seed starting time. Peppers in particular, if I was trying to start them at the 60-65 degrees, it'll take 2 or 3 weeks before the seedlings will pop up. If I can get these seedlings closer to 75 degrees, then they'll think that it's warm outside and it's time for them to pop up, and they'll pop up here in about a week. First set of seeds I'm starting, I'm going to do Anaheim chilies. Understanding that they may not actually be Anaheim chili peppers unless they're grown in Anaheim County, California. I think it's county. Anyway, also today is February 14th. I try to start my pepper seeds mid-February. That'll give them 8 weeks indoors before my last average frost, at which point they'll be ready to harden off. I have a small sidewalk plant sale that I will do in front of my home, and that'll happen at the towards the end of April. So I want to say weekend after Easter this year. So I think we're running a little bit late with the weekend after Easter, because I usually do it right about 420, and because that'll be about a week after our last average frost. I guess I'm doing it 2 weeks after. So last weekend in April, I'll be having my little plant sale, and I want all these plants to be strong and ready for the plant sale. As I am starting seeds, I am dropping 2 seeds per cell. At the moment, I'm just laying them on top. If I get all my seeds on the little cells, I will kind of just press them down a little bit and move the soil on top of them so that I am covering them up. I don't want to plant them too deep. Average rule of thumb on starting peppers or starting any seed is to plant them twice as deep as they are wide, as they are thick. So based on the size of the seeds, you can different planting depths that you will plant them. So my seeds are just laying on top of the soil. I just kind of press them down, kind of move the soil over top of them so that they can't be seen. My soil is a touch dry. I guess I pre-moistened it and I filled this tray yesterday, and it has dried out a little bit. So I will be bottom watering this tray. So this 72 count cell tray is sitting inside of a 10 by 20 tray. So by bottom watering, I will pour a water into this tray, half a gallon or so. I want it to ride up, about halfway up these cups. The soil will then pull up as much moisture as it needs, and then I will empty the tray. Then I will take this tray over to the sink and empty it out, and so the excess water is gone, but the soil will retain all the moisture it needs, and that way I'm trying to avoid the root rot. So keeping your seedlings too wet can cause issues. Anytime you're having issues with plants, seedlings, or your garden plants, I kind of put the problems in one of three areas: either too much water, not enough water; nutrition, so too much nutrition or not enough nutrition; or sunlight, too much sunlight or not enough sunlight. So if you can troubleshoot those issues, you will most likely get to the bottom of your problem. So as I've planted my 2 seeds per cell, 6 cells, so I'm hoping to get 12 plants. I'm actually only have room to transplant up 8 of these. So as long as I get some decent germination, I'll be fine. I'm not expecting 100% germination because no seed packet ever has 100% germination. Most probably ballpark in the 90% range. So if I'm 90% of 12 seeds, I should be fine for my 8 plants. The seeds I am using are a year old, so on your seed packets you will see a date. It is a packaged for sale in the year of X. So these were packaged for sale in 2024, which makes the seeds a year or 2 old themselves. But you don't need, you don't have to have this year's seeds in order to start seeds. Your germination rate will just drop off a touch with older seeds. Now I'm starting habaneros. So I've got 2 seeds per cell. Habaneros are I don't know if you qualify them quite as a super hot, but they're the hottest that I want to consume and to mess with. Even just touching the seeds, or when you're processing your habaneros, you should wear gloves. I should be wearing gloves with these seeds here. I need to remind myself not to touch my eyes on anything sensitive, because you will know it quickly. So I need to make sure I wash my hands well after handling those handful of seeds, because they have enough of the capsaicin in them to aggravate you. But definitely processing your habaneros or any very hot pepper, wear your gloves, because you can actually, your skin will get irritated, and then if you get the remnants of those peppers, on any other sensitive part of your body, it will extraordinarily burn. You can drink milk to help if you've eaten anything too spicy. So that was Anaheim chilies and habaneros. So these came from the Livingston Seed Company. I got these from someone local who was in touch with the company, so I actually got these seeds for free. One place I do like to order from is Hoss Tools. They have some nice hybrids. This is a Colossus hybrid jalapeno F1 pepper. I have grown these in the past, and they just make for a enormous jalapeno. I mean, it's as big as your hand is wide. It's larger than your average jalapeno, and I really enjoy slicing those jalapenos open and stuffing them, whether that's with cream cheese or some taco rice, some beefy rice mix with some taco seasoning in it. Makes for excellent little appetizers. So I also like to use my jalapenos for cowboy candy, so it's like a little candied jalapeno. Anyhow, so these are this year's seeds, and hey, we'll have a race between last year's seeds and this year's seeds, see what kind of germination we get. Remembering we're putting 2 seeds per cell, trying to 1, 2, and they're just lightly covering them with the soil. There are many different methods with seed starting. None of them are right. None of them are necessarily wrong. Some are better than others, but you just have to figure out what works for you. This is what works for me. I've seen some videos where I've seen people put a hole in it and then cover it up. I have found that I end up making too deep of a hole and getting them buried too deeply, which affects my germination rates. I've also seen people just cover the surface with perlite, and it's nice and light and would do the trick. The perlite is very light and has a tendency to blow around, and even you can get different size perlites, but all the bags of perlite have a very fine powder in there with them, where you've got ground perlite, and that aggravates my sinuses. You definitely don't want to breathe that in if possible. So when I work with it, I we'll put an N95 mask on to try to combat those particulates in the air. So that's why I choose not to top my soil with perlite. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a different method, and it's one that I choose not to use because I personally have trouble with the perlite dust. So again, if you're new to gardening, you are going to hear the answer, it depends, a whole lot. You know, there are lots of ways to do this. You just have to find the way that works best for you. So there, again, no necessarily right answer. Next, I am doing some pumpkin spice jalapenos. These came from Baker Creek. I want to say Baker Creek's, they're about $3 a pack, but they do have free shipping. So if you're just needing a single pack of seeds, free shipping on a single pack of seeds. Most seeds sold online, there is going to be shipping, or maybe a minimum order, $25 or better, which personally I find fairly easy to hit. But if you just need a single pack, Baker Creek, I think they're Rare Seeds, rareseeds.com, online. So again, this is the pumpkin spice jalapeno. My neighbor, he ordered several of these different colored jalapeno peppers that he wanted to try in his garden, so I told him I would start them for him. So he ordered the seeds, gifted me the seed packs, and then I will be gifting him back a pepper plant a piece. So I'm starting, I want to end up with 8. I'm putting 2 seeds in 6 different cells, so I should end up with more than 8 plants. So now then I can choose my strongest 8 seedlings to pot up and into slightly larger containers, which will grow to a nice planting height. So these seeds will reside in this seed tray for 4 weeks or so, and then I will pot them up into a 2.5-inch pot. So that 2.5-inch pot allows me to get 36, so we're going 4 by 8 in a 10 by 20 tray. And that's how I can most efficiently get my plants to a decent size, and start as many plants as I want to for my sidewalk sale. So in total, I'll have close to, I'll have close to 1,000 plants. I think I've got 960 little pots that I've got to pot up my tomatoes and my peppers in. I'll have a few, slightly more tomatoes than I will peppers. All right, this next one here is the orange spice jalapeno, and it's, I don't know, this pack might add, we'll find out, 20 seeds or so in it. 1, 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, yep, so that was about half of them. So 2 dozen seeds or so in that pack, just to give you an idea of Baker Creek's pack size. And I will have to say, all seed companies, kind of their pack sizes differ a little bit. They do it for price points, but also based on the rarity and the cost of those seeds. Another company I will order seeds from online is called M.I. Gardner. Hey, he is from Michigan, thus the M.I. And he's got a seed shop online. I think all of his seeds packets are $2 a piece, and he's got some free shipping if you order X amount. I forget the amount. Oh, there's a stick in there. We'll get that out of the way. That was our pump. That was row. I think I got my labels wrong. That was the orange, and the first one was the pumpkin. I have to go rewatch that video, see what I did. All right, next up is lemon spice. Lemon spice jalapeno. Back to M.I. Gardner. So he does, out of Michigan, does $2 seed packets, and they're packed slightly less than some other seed companies' packages as far as the number in there. But for Backyard Gardener, they've got plenty. You get a pack of pepper seeds. Again, if you got 2 dozen peppers, seeds, you can start 2 dozen pepper plants. I don't know that anybody needs 2 dozen of the exact same pepper plant as a backyard gardener. Lemon spice. I'm starting a dozen seeds. I will probably plant 2 of each of these varieties in my garden. I might plant 4 of these colossal jalapenos and 4 poblanos, and then 2 each for the rest of the pepper varieties that I'm starting. I do need to do the math and see if I actually have enough room for all that. But I don't need a dozen of anything, I don't believe. I like variety personally, so what I do with a lot of my excess peppers is, again, the cowboy candy for the jalapenos, but then everything else I like to smoke and then dehydrate, and I then crush it up in a blender and make this spicy pepper powder out of all my excess pepper plants. It's a great way for me to process them for storage and keep that spice, and I want to say forever, but for years and years. I'm not sure what kind of expiration date, if any, it would have, this smoked and dehydrated pepper powder. Next up, brown jalapenos. So we did a pumpkin, an orange, a lemon spice, and now a brown. So these should all be your typical smaller size, a little bit bigger, than your thumb jalapenos, but with the variety of color. Not sure on the flavor. I've not grown these varieties before, but it should add some fun color to the garden. Another pepper that adds fun color to your garden that I don't have starting here today, but I started yesterday, is the fish pepper. The fish pepper is it's a hot pepper. You just need one. I want to say it gets its name from some sort of, I'm not sure, Asian, dish, maybe Korean dish that is basically your fish oriented. Asian cuisine would use this fish pepper in their seasoning of fish dishes, so it grabbed the name fish pepper. At least that's my understanding. Anyhow, the plant leaves itself are variegated, and the peppers are variegated, so it adds for a nice pop of color in the garden. It is hot. I would put it up there with a Thai chili or a habanero as far as the heat wise, and they're on the smaller side, but you just need one for that dish that you're thinking of making, and that plant is highly productive. You'll probably, when you go to get your 1 pepper off of it, you'll probably see another 100 peppers on that single pepper plant. I like to grow 2 of them, not because I need that amount of peppers. It's just because if something happens, I want to have that pepper in the fall, and I plant 2 just to cover my bases in case some sort of bug or disease or animal or me and my weed eater, harm one of the plants. I like to have a backup, and then again, the excess I will just smoke and dehydrate, and it will feed my pepper plant. Next up is the shishito pepper. This one is from Hoss Tools. This is an excellent grilling pepper, so you can cover it with a little bit of olive oil and then just pop it on the grill. You can put it in a cast iron skillet inside, but you're just trying to get some little bit of blackening. Don't blacken the entire pepper. A little bit of blackening on that pepper, and then it is an amazing appetizer. All right, again, we're doing shishito, 2 seeds per cell. That's 3 there. 3 seeds in 1 cell will not be the end of the world. A single seed would work just fine. Again, I'm putting 2 seeds in just because I know my germination won't be 100%. I'm shooting for a total of 8 plants. So I'm planting 12 seeds in hopes to get 8 plants. So as long as I have a 75% germination rate, I'm good. And I should have, again, I'll say 90 plus out of a seed packet that has been produced for sale this year. That will drop off if you're using older seed packs. I have used plenty of older seed packs. With this method, I just understand I'm not going to have 90% germination. Is that germination rate going to be about 75? Well, that's what I'm shooting. That's what I'm making the assumption on as I plant 12 seeds, trying to get 8 plants. Next up is a cow horn pepper. Another neighbor of mine gifted me a single cow horn pepper one year. I cut it up, I put it in my eggs, and it just gave them this excellent smoky flavor. So it's spicy, I would say, jalapeno level spicy, but has a very different flavor, and some smokiness comes through with just the pepper without doing anything to it. It was just a sliced up pepper into my eggs. So I like to incorporate that into my spice mix, and then have a few for fresh cooking throughout the fall. So these plants, again, we're starting inside here. Today is February 14th. They'll stay in this tray for about a month. They'll get potted up into those 2.5 inch cups. So that will be in mid-March, and then early to middle April, we'll start taking them outside to harden off. So hardening off is the process of taking these seeds, these little seedlings, outside and exposing them to sunlight. And you kind of do it slowly. I like to comment that the little seedlings are like a little Irish red-headed child. They will burn easily. So as you would, I don't have children, so I'm just making an assumption here. But as you would with a child, letting them go outside for a few hours as a toddler, and then slowly extending their time in the sun, we do the same thing on the plants. Ideally, you can take their first time out can be on an overcast day. You can leave them for several hours on that overcast day. If it was a bright sunny day, you might only leave them for 2 hours. That was the cow horn I did. And then over the course of, say, 2 weeks, you slowly increase their sun exposure. This is the Holy Moly hybrid. It's a kind of a very dark green pepper. I've done it 1 year and enjoyed it. It was several years back, so I don't really have any flavor notes. It says annual green to brown, and it's mild. It takes 85 days to start, or 85 days to harvest. These came from Totally Tomato. I probably ordered some tomatoes from them and added on these seeds. This was packed for sale by 2023, so I'm not using brand new seeds, but I am using the end of these seeds in the pack. I'd rather plant them this year before their germination rate falls off anymore, and go ahead and use up these seeds. So 2 seeds per pack. And I forgot what I was chatting about a minute ago before I picked up this Holy Moly pack from the Totally Tomatoes. Cow horn, seed starter. Hardening off. So we are going to harden off our pepper plants outside along with our tomato plants beginning of April. So they can't they don't need to spend the night outside. All right, so that's 12. I've got 4 more seeds. I'm just going to put these seeds in some other, and we'll put 3 seeds in these other there, and there's 3 seeds and 4 of those, and we'll cover those up. We'll see what we get. So we're going to harden off our seedlings outside, slowly exposing them to sun. If you can put them in a dappled shade, say under a tree or something versus in the full sun, that would be ideal. So again, we're just kind of a slow exposure to that. Just outside my basement door, I've got a deck and a little 4-foot fence. So I will end up putting up shade cloth outside, and I will bring my seedlings out and leave them under the shade cloth. So I think I'm using a 40% shade cloth, and I always get confused on, does that let 40% through or block 40%? I'm not sure. It's shadier than not having a shade cloth. So I use it, and I'll put my plants out there. Ideally, I'll start on that overcast day and then have the shade cloth, and then slowly I can leave them out a little bit longer and longer and more full sun. So I'll take all these trays outside and leave them for say 4 hours, and then bring them back in. And then later, as I do that a few times, I can then leave them out there for 6 hours or 8 hours at a time to let them harden off. Eventually, I can leave them out there all day. I have even left them out overnight, but you have to watch your weather forecast. Your pepper plants do not want to experience a temperature below 40 degrees. I mean, if it's getting down to 45, I don't want my pepper plants outside. I would rather have them inside. Those 40-degree temperatures can stunt the growth of your pepper plant. Means it won't bush out quite as much, won't be quite as productive, or it'll be even later in the summer before you're able to harvest your pepper plants. So try to keep your pepper plants from experiencing a 40-degree night, and it'll be a much happier pepper plant. Your tomatoes, if you need to harden them off in the same manner, they don't necessarily, the 40 degree won't stunt them, but 32 degrees will kill them. So you need to watch your forecast in order to make sure that they're not experiencing a very cold night. All right, so that is our pepper, the end of our hot peppers that I am starting. I am going to put this on a heat mat, and I am going to bottom water it. Again, you should bottom water it, give it a couple hours to let that moisture rise up into the soil, and then ideally you're coming back and touching your trays and emptying out the excess water. Sometimes I'm bad about that, and the water might sit in there for 24 hours. That's not ideal, but I have done that, and I have yet to see consequences, but I am not advising that. I would say anything beyond 24 hours, you are going to have issues with I think it's root rot. You're going to have issues with, your soil is going to start to grow because it's so moist for so long. You can start growing algae and molds on the top of your soil. If you see that, you've had too much water in them, so basically stop watering them quite as often, and let the top of the soil dry out in between waterings. And if the top of the soil dries out between waterings, you won't have the molds and the algae grow on top. Because while we're trying to create this perfect environment for our seeds to grow in, we are also creating a perfect environment for those molds and funguses like algae to grow in. So what I typically do is I may bottom water once or twice a week, depending on the size of the plant. So the larger the plant, the more water it's going to need. These little seedlings, I can probably bottom water here once a week and be just fine. I want to see the top of the soil dry before I apply more bottom water. So your seed is also at the very top of the soil. So before my seed is germinated, I don't really want the top of my soil to dry out. So what I do is I have a water bottle with a little mister attachment. Think your Windex bottle. I use a spray bottle, and I'll spray down the top of the soil as I see it starting to dry out for the next week or so until I see the little seeds germinate. At that point, they're starting to put roots down, and I want them to grab water from the bottom. So I will wait for the top to dry out. I will lift my tray, kind of feel how heavy it is. As you do this, it basically just takes practice and time and learning. You'll pick up the tray and oh, it's fairly moist, or you'll go to pick it up and you're and it's very light, and now you know that there's not a drop of moisture in there. You need to bottom water, and you need to do it now. Other times you'll walk by and feel it, man, it's heavy. I bottom watered it yesterday, and the plants have not used it, or my seed starting area is nice and humid, so we haven't had too much evaporation. I personally start seeds in my basement. That's where I have the space, and we run a dehumidifier down here, so I'm actually pulling moisture out of the air. So my seed starting mix may dry out faster than yours. So it all depends on your environment and what seed starting mix you've used. So it depends. So just keep an eye on it, and ideally you start your seeds in some place that you walk past every day, so that you can keep an eye on them. You want to keep your lights my lights are we'll say budget-friendly shop lights, so I need to keep them very close to my plants. So as my plants grow, I have to raise my lights. I need to keep an eye on that. I need to keep an eye on the moisture that's in the soil. personally, so that I don't have to fool with nutrition at this point, that's why I'm using the Fox Farm nice garden soil, and I've made my own seed starting mix because it is full of nutrients. I have made that mistake in the past where I started everything in cocoa coir and then I did not feed them correctly, and I lost all my plants because I didn't feed them at all. I was thinking that it was going to work. It's a seed starting mix. It should start seeds. Well, it did. So the cocoa coir will hold on to the moisture. Your seed itself has enough energy in it to feed it, and nutrients in it to feed itself for a week or 10 days or so as it germinates and puts down a single root, and now that single root is now looking for additional nutrients. So all my seedlings came up, then they all died. You can use cocoa coir. I'm not bashing cocoa coir. You just have to make sure that you're adding nutrients to as you water your seedlings. It's a step that I am choosing to not concentrate on, so I am using a different seed starting medium. So good luck to you all on your seed starting. Again, it's April 14th. I'm sorry, it's February 14th. My last average frost is April 15th, so I am starting my pepper seeds 8 weeks prior to my last average frost. If you need to look that up, just Google last average frost in your zip code, and 3 or 4 different calculators will pop up there and give you your last average frost. Thank you, and happy gardening.